Hello, and welcome to the Revenue Room podcast, where we talk about everything data, digital, AI, and revenue. Before I kick off with our amazing guest, and also a friend and highly respected professional peer, I'm excited to announce a new solution from H2K Labs, RevvedUP. RevvedUP is an invitation-only gathering and brain trust for CEOs and their revenue-critical C-suite teams leading multi-sided businesses such as media, events, data and insights, marketplaces, communities, and professional network. RevvedUP is architected for C-suite executives who are truly serious about data-enabled enterprise value creation and business transformation. We'll dive into how to fuel enterprise value, and we'll talk about profitability, revenue growth, and anything in between. It takes place the 26th and 27th of February in Sarasota, but why now? Well, I'll tell you why. According to Gartner, 86% of CEOs believe AI will maintain or grow company revenue and enterprise value, yet they do not know where to strategically focus efforts and investments. And I hear this all the time. So that's where we come in. We're going to solve those problems, and we're going to come up with actionable insights and strategies to use these new tools that can transform and future-proof a business. Visit h2klabs.com/revvedup, 2 V's, to learn more. And okay, with that, please join me in welcoming Liz Irving, President of Clarion Events North America. I've known Liz for many years, and it's been very wonderful to watch her career as she was the Chief Marketing Officer and now just promoted recently over the last year to President of Clarion North America. Liz's endless curiosity, desire for learning, and passion for building relationships infuse her responsibilities as the President of Clarion. With over 20 years of experience in the events industry, she has transformed the businesses she works with through her strategic vision and customer-centric approach to drive commercial outcomes. In her current role, Liz oversees the strategic direction of Clarion North America by focusing on customer and behavioral insights, commercial effectiveness, digital platform development, and innovation. In addition, she is responsible for product strategy development, where she partners with Clarion's portfolio directors to identify growth opportunities to enhance existing events and develop new digital offerings. Her forward-thinking mindset constantly has her eye on the customer experience and how to continuously evolve what Clarion events, media, and other solutions offer to increase the value that they provide face-to-face and digitally. Liz fosters an environment that focuses on employee engagement, innovation, and team collaboration to serve Clarion's customers and communities. And I can tell you, knowing a lot of people who work at Clarion North America, she's a phenomenal leader. And people are super happy to work there and very lucky and fortunate. Her leadership nurtures inclusivity and continuous improvement within Clarion, and she is super well recognized in the industry, and we're so lucky to have her on our show. Thank you, Liz, for being here, and would love to have you tell our audience a little bit about you with your own words.
Wow, thank you so much for having me, Heather, and it's so nice to hear all the kind words. So yeah, I've been on this incredible journey in the events industry, and this is my 25th year. So I feel like I have grown up in the industry and touched a number of roles, a number of products along the way, which honestly I think has led to where I am today. So when I joined Clarion, it was about 10 years ago, and it's really crazy to look back and say, when I started, there were 16 people in our Connecticut office. And now we have over 270. And for me, the journey has been so exciting to think about. From my point of view, I got to be a builder, I got to be an innovator, I got to take a real hands-on and personal approach with my teams and my customers. And it's truly what I love and why I think I'm where I am today, leading the next, helm of Clarion to where we go next for the future.
That's really amazing. Watching Clarion over the years, the growth has been phenomenal. It's very exciting. But with that leads me to my first question. You've been at Clarion for some time. How has it changed over the last 10 years?
Yeah, it really has changed. When I think about where we were when I started, I was playing the role of HR, marketing, design, execution. We really have a skilled set of employees who continue to raise the bar every day. We've grown through a lot of acquisitions, which is Clarion's model as we bring in entrepreneurial type businesses and nurture and foster growth and opportunity. But I think we've also grown up as an organization developing a really clear, different type of a culture where people feel they're part of a bigger opportunity, they are included in conversations, they are part of the decision making at the table. And we've learned a lot more, as you've said in your opening, about digital and data and where that's going to take us. So I think Clarion is a very healthy, very strong, and well-recognized organization that is a competitor in the marketplace now.
No, absolutely, absolutely. One thing I find really interesting about your background is you came up the marketing ranks. You look at a CEO and president roles, like, well, I came up operations, or I came up finance, or I came up sales. You came up marketing. How is this influenced, or how is it influencing the way you lead and the lens you have?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll never forget the time when I spoke with Greg DePalion and I said, look, don't count me out for the next role. And then I thought, oh God, Liz, what did you just say? Like, can you do this? Can you take it to the next level? But honestly, as I think about the business today and the events industry as a whole, a marketing background is really key for our next step and for success. It's all about customer centricity. I think that's the name of the game. And what I bring to my teams and my customers is I can show the importance in understanding customer needs and behaviors, but I also can help Clarion really make decisions that align with market needs, that help future-proof our events, but also allow us to work alongside our communities, which is so important. I would also say, as we're going to talk further on, data-driven decisions are key. Right? It's not about gut feel anymore. It's what is the data showing you? How are you acting on it? How are you agile? And I also think with a marketer, there's a lot of communication that needs to come forward. And I have the ability and actually the opportunity to truly connect with my employees and my customers. And honestly, I love building the trust and transparency both with my teams and global leadership. It's just something that I crave and look forward to every day when I come to work.
It's interesting. When I launched H2K Labs, and I was talking about data, but in what I call the revenue room, one of the things that I noticed right away is like, wow, these media and event organizations have invested so much in data on the marketing side. Like it's nailed down. And it kind of now is moving over to revenue, the revenue room. So I actually think there's such an opportunity to use all of the learnings from marketing with all the data savviness that was developed to now bring that over to how sales are managed and improved. All right, so from a leadership perspective, and this was a question I was talking to another leader the other day, and you're private equity owned, there are new metrics that were never asked before, let's say 3 to 5 years ago, that are now being asked, like lifetime value, net revenue retention, logo acquisition. Are you seeing the same thing with Clarion?
Oh, absolutely. I think in a positive way, we've moved beyond square footage and things like that. We've really talked about how do you drive lifetime customer value? How do you actually drive more people per logo? How do you actually understand levels of engagement? Because in turn, when you have highly engaged, receptive customers, to your point, the revenue grows. We're spending a lot of time talking about a concept called needs, purpose, value. And for us, it's do we truly understand what our customers are looking forward to, what their motivators are, and then how do we create bespoke opportunities for them to deliver on that? It's a big focus for Clarion. In something that I've seen make tremendous strides in growing revenue, but actually growing satisfaction. And the other two areas that I think are interesting to think about for metrics, one is yield. And we talk about yield, but for me, when I think about what I'm seeing more and more of, it's not just selling booth space anymore. We're selling really interesting sponsorship opportunities that are going beyond the booth. But do we understand the yield of those sponsorships? Do we understand what it costs to deliver them? That is a conversation I am talking to with my teams all the time because we're rewriting the rule book of how events are sold and how events are marketed and how we deliver experiences. And, one of the last things I'll say that I'm really proud about our culture at Clarion is I also measure team NPS. I want to know how satisfied my teams are. Because if I can make sure they have what they need to be successful, ultimately my events grow in spades and my customers are happy. So that's a really key piece for me personally as I think about the culture and differentiator with Clarion.
That's so important. I've had some very fortunate experiences running events. I've also had an unfortunate situation where my business got acquired and the acquiring company wasn't really a good fit. And the difference in the team and people on the floor felt it. They
Yeah.
absolutely felt it. And so it's so important for that, the team NPS score. Yeah, the other part about yield is also interesting, and that is it's a tricky one, right? Like, and it's not only tricky to calculate it, it's very tricky to manage it, especially sponsorships. Because
Correct.
sponsorships are such a creative part of the event. So, oh, let's do this. The sponsor wants these things. But the more you add in and the salesperson gets excited and they're like, okay, here's the price, but they're not savvy enough, or not savvy is the wrong
Yeah.
word. They don't have the data tools in front of them they should to be like, well, if we add that in, I need to increase the price X because we need the yield to be Y. And a lot of media companies leave a ton of money on the table because they aren't focused on that. That's
And I think it's hard, right? Like you said, is like you want a really exciting, robust deal over the line, right? That meets a customer's needs. But when you think about it and peel back the onion, the more you spend time here, you're going to deliver better, and the better opportunity you're going to have for your customer, because they're going to get what they're looking for, and we're going to have the revenue we need to continue to up our game.
Yeah, we'll be actually talking about that particular issue at the Lunch Lab on the 30th of September in New York, but that's a hot topic for me. I love that one. All right. So, what have the biggest challenges been for you in implementing a data-driven strategy at Clarion? It's not easy. It's complex. It's expensive. It impacts how you hire and train. Like, what's top of your list of like, wow, this is what I'm dealing with, and I've got to solve this problem. If this weren't here, we would be flying.
Yeah, I think this is such a good topic because we're all in this together. And I say that because I have a lot of conversations with other leaders in the event industry, and we get to share our ups and our downs, but it's like, oh, it's a little cathartic, right? So I think one of the biggest challenges from the event side has been we capture data in so many ways, right? We capture behavior, we capture what people tell us. And we're like, oh my gosh, we have so much. It's what do you do with it? How do you make it usable? How do you streamline it enough where you can actually be effective in what you're paying attention to? So I'll say where we're at today, we've probably had a good year to 18 months of work looking at what is our story and how are we going to approach it. And there's been many times where I've had to say, okay, guys, these are the bumpers we're going to work within. We can't have everything, because if we don't have a foundation, we're all going to be talking different languages, and that's not going to be helpful for the business or for the customer. So I think for me, it was about getting more clear on what matters, right? There's a lot of work to do, getting a foundation and a common way of working and build in nuance. But I think the amount of data we have and the possibilities are endless. That can be challenging. The one other piece I'll add is I have found tremendous opportunity with finding great partners. So a lot of the data we're capturing or using are from third-party partners. So you need to find partners who are in this with you, right? Who want to see what the next step is, who want to build and help you get more articulate in what you're seeing. I think that's been a key to our success, continuing to build that partnership and find people to build with me.
Can you give me an example of some of those partnerships?
Yeah, for sure. So we do a lot of work with Grip, so the mobile app team. Spend a lot of time talking with Tim and the team on if we could do this, what would it look like? Can you imagine if we could unlock this? But for me, I like to be on a lot of different groups' advisory boards so I can have a voice in what are we thinking about, where are they going, but also can be able to influence roadmaps for folks. Map Your Show is another one. We've spent a tremendous amount of time with Map Your Show talking about the customer journey, but bringing them into our mindset and what matters to our customers. Those types of conversations kind of align the customer at the center of all of us, not just the organizer at the center. It's the true end user customer, which matters for all of us to drive revenue and opportunity.
Yeah, those are two great companies, by the way. I know both well, and I'm very impressed with all of the investment they're making in the data side. So that's great. I'm going to move to the customer journey. And I know this is very important at Clarion. I know it's top of Lisa's list of priorities. So what kinds of new insights are you culling from your data about your event attendees so that you can provide them a better experience?
Yeah, so the way I'd love to look at this is to say, what are the things we're doing to help us get those insights? So I think the first number one thing for me was I realized I needed to build a team around this. It wasn't me. It wasn't me driving this. It was I need someone who actually lives and breathes a different way, who can look at things for us. I brought in Narissa Wild to head up our digital product and strategy, and she's been amazing in helping us think deeper about where do we go. So we built that NPV model, which I've talked to you about earlier, which is our needs, purpose, value. That's allowing us to say, how are people responding? How do we need to tailor their experience? How do we deliver greater in the outcome for them? We've done a lot of pulse surveys, so it's not always about capturing data right at the front of an experience. There's opportunities along the journey to say, let's dive in deeper and double click. What are they feeling? What are they hearing? Do they have what they need to be successful? Those small indicators have helped us make tweaks in marketing, tweaks in communications, tweaks actually with on-site experiences that we can affect the customer outcome. I would also say we've been very big users of Power BI with visualization. I think data talks differently to everybody, and seeing graphs and charts in comparison can make it really real. So we spend a lot of time thinking about, how are we seeing pacing and engagement? Does engagement turn to conversion? Those are really critical elements for us to understand how we're going to hit our goals as a whole. And the last thing I'll share with you is I split my teams into two. And I used to have a big population of marketing generalists who did everything, and they're amazing, amazing marketers. But what I realized was the business was changing so fast to digital, I needed to have two separate mindsets of digital and brand. And how could I accelerate both while supporting each other and supporting the customer? So I did a total shift in my teams to say I now have digital marketers who are SMEs and experts in all things digital and data and reporting. And then I have brand marketers who drive my customer insights. They know the customer, live and breathe the markets, right? And drive the brand strategies. That to me has been a game changer.
Wow, those are two really big, significant moves you've made. I mean, Narissa is a tremendous hire. She was actually one of my speakers during COVID when I had an event called Virtual Shakeup, and I was just wildly impressed with her. But that you actually divided your team because you need the digital expertise for sure, and they need to keep learning and growing because it just changes every day. But on the flip side, we're in a business where we need to know our customer's customer and industry as if we lived in the business ourselves, right? That's the only way we're successful with events and media is that expertise. So you have now two groups. Hopefully people listening actually take that as a really amazing piece of guidance.
And what's been great is you're sort of learning both the brand side and the digital side, and they're totally different skill sets. And I'll tell you, my team at the time was feeling very overwhelmed to do everything. And I had to listen to what they needed too. And this was a good move for us. So knock on wood, we'll continue. And we're going to continue to evolve and learn along the journey too.
That last point you just made is interesting because you're in different markets as well. Those markets in terms of behavior and how they consume information and respond to marketing and where they're going may be different for each market. So I imagine the digital and the brand teams are collaborating significantly on that.
They are, and I think what's great is you've got more iterations to learn and test and try. So we're doing so much more this year, and I know we'll get to talk about AI a little bit, but we're doing more work to test and iterate and say, how did it work? Can we apply it somewhere else? And it's quick learning, quick thinking. But being in digital allows us to have agility at our fingertips to move when we need to.
No, absolutely. And actually, this leads me to another question, which is there an example of a data-inspired innovation, like outside what you just shared, because that's innovation right there, but in terms of the customer product, the customer engagement, and again, you're using Griv for matchmaking and appointment setting. Are there other things you're doing with data to improve the experience?
Yeah, I think one of the best examples I have for you is we run the FDIC Firefighters Show. It's 36,000 firefighters in Indianapolis every year. It is the #1 training program for firefighters and to see new products and services, but it also has a little bit of an emotional, almost like a B2C element to it, the way the fire industry is structured. But we saw a need from data with our fire chiefs, and they are more of the metro officers, the larger city officers who had an opportunity to want to come together and share and learn. So they were doing more meetings together, more critical time through our mobile app. And we said, well, how do we talk to them more and figure out what else they need? Well, from the data they were sharing with us, the actions they were taking, we learned they actually wanted to get together before the conference and have a niche event. So we created a whole bespoke program for them that allowed them to learn and educate at that level of a Metro Chief Officer. We brought in sponsorships to connect them. We understood their individual needs and helped match them up with people who would be like-minded for them to discuss challenges and opportunities. That has grown into one of our most successful events and probably one of our best connection opportunities. So you sort of look at it and say, okay, formats can change within a show, engagement can change within a show, but how do you take a large conference with the data that you're seeing and make a small opportunity that really personalizes an event experience that pays back in spades?
I love that. I love that. Like white space opportunity, customers telling you they want it, you're able to deliver, and now it's become a flourishing product for the business, and delivers tremendous value to the customer.
Correct.
All right. So let's move into digital solutions. Clarion acquired Penwell. Penwell had print hubs and digital assets and events. I believe you might have sold the print publications and you stayed with the digital assets and the events?
We have some, so we still have some print actually.
Okay, so you still have print. All right. With the digital part, right, and you have advertisers that are coming in and they're buying digital. First of all, how important is digital revenue growth to Clarion? And the second part of that question is, are you using as an approach with those advertisers where it's a integrated program of marketing solutions, like advertise on our firefighter site and do some content marketing and sponsor the event, like connecting the dots?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. Digital is super important, right? I think it just, as a whole, strengthens what the in-person brings. And when I step back and think about who we are as digital, we are actually a data company, right? So we have the ability to help connect you with the people that really matter to you. Digital's our arm to do that. So I think it allows us to have more engagement and flexibility in this changing landscape. And honestly, think about digital and the next generation of event goers. They crave this, right? So I think we as an industry need to be playing in digital. So for us, it's about, we do have bespoke programs. We do take them on a journey to say, like, start big in the marketing funnel. Let's bring it down to in-person for you. We have our teams who cross-sell, which I think is great. So they've learned the product, they appreciate the value, and we can watch the customers who engage with different types of media opportunities and then say, how do we get you face-to-face? What would that look like? So I think it's been amazing. It's been really a diversification of our revenue streams. It's been a focus opportunity for customers and outcomes. And it extends our reach throughout the year, which I love, because our focus at Clarion is we want to be in the communities we serve, right? It's not just come to the event once a year. It's we're part of your community, and how do we help give you what you need to? And for me, I think engagement matters these days more than ever. It's not just about impressions and getting lots out. It's like, how meaningful is what we sent you, and are you finding value in what we're providing?
Oh, I think you're spot on with that. The engagement part, that 365, 247, they can come to your site at any time and get something of value that's going to help them do their job better, faster, less risk. You're a trusted resource because it helps free you from the reliance on like Google or email opens, like they know you, right? It's also less expensive to acquire your attendees when you have the relationship and you have, I think, improved retention. So you're not constantly churning and trying to find new people. And then you have the word of mouth aspect. So that's really great.
I'll tell you too, during COVID, it became even more important to us, right? So our firefighter event that I just spoke about, we couldn't do in-person training, but we know how critical that is to the fire service. Their job is to save people's lives but come home safe. We launched a learning management software where we're doing online training and developing bespoke programs. That was born out of a digital innovation at a time where we couldn't be together face to face. So for me, it's also thinking about what else is there on the horizon that we could serve in a different fashion but still be true to what our brand delivers for the community.
So that learning program came out of COVID, and it's a growing revenue stream.
It's a renewing revenue stream, right? They're subscription based. So it's been a tremendous journey to learn as event organizers, how do we actually become a learning management platform? It's a whole different skill set, whole different learning, and a different way of selling too.
Yes, for sure. No, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And the data you're probably getting from all of the
Yes.
engagement with the learning is there's a whole story there as well. Um, so, from a macro perspective, and the events industry right now seems way more resilient than the media industry, to be honest, because honestly, I think COVID showing this, I think AI is actually reinforcing how important face to face is. There are things happening with events are just furthering why events are so critical to people, right? And businesses. But it is impacted in terms of what the expectations are from sponsors and your exhibitors and your the way you want everything. How is data and data analytics and the technology that's coming in AI transforming this business? From what do you see today and what do you think it's going to be 12, 18, 24 months from now?
Yeah, I'm actually excited. I feel like the event industry is arriving, right? And we're testing and we're trying, we're pushing the limits of what's possible, and I think it's only going to continue. I also think things like this and cross sharing and celebrating successes really matters to push us forward. So I do feel like we're going to continue to look at the events industry being strong for face to face, but it's also about how do you deliver really good experiences that people say, you know what, I gotta be there. It matters to me. And it's something I wanna go to. I personally enjoy it, but I professionally can get value from this. So I love thinking about where we're gonna go with things like AI. We're testing a lot here right now to say, can AI give us a step up in the game, maybe where we don't have as much staffing or skill sets, but can it allow us to do things with personalization better? Can it move the needle on engagement better? We're testing a lot of interesting products. I also am doing some work with Zenus, the camera technology. They do ethical facial analysis, testing customer sentiment. And it's not about, hey, how satisfied you were with the show. We can watch what you're doing and say, gosh, that area resonate better than another area. And what was the flow like? And what can we do to improve? So I just feel like the event industry has so many levers to pull. But since we're doing this all the time, there's fast learnings that we can share and we can repeat. And it excites me to think about where we're going to head.
No, that's really interesting about the Zenith example. So essentially, you're putting cameras in the show, and the technology that's capturing people's facial expressions is giving you the sentiment without
It's
anyone having
sentiment, yeah. So I'll never forget. So we were testing this at a show. Actually, it was the fire show. I have a lot of fire examples today. But we launched a new area, and we thought, oh my gosh, what does success look like? And now success needs to come with data and points, right, to get back to sponsors, because that's even more critical. But day one, we had lines of people to this firehouse of the future, which is sort of like a museum and product display. And we thought, wow, lots of people. We won. We did this. They're here. Well, the cameras showed us day two, when it wasn't as busy, people spent more time on dwelling. They were smiling. They were engaging with products better. So the learning for us was to think about how do we position the products to drive the right optimal engagement. So those kind of camera technologies can be used in different areas to watch flow, to manage how booths get set up, to understand product placement and what products are important to people versus others. And it's used in consumer marketing too. So I think we're getting the best of both worlds. And things like AI are going to continue to push us forward to just learn even faster in the event space.
I love that. And actually, now I know why you answered one of our surveys about what other industries would you like to engage with, and retail was one. And that's really interesting. Oh, I like that. So what new skills, hiring has always been an issue. Like your team, it's like you just can't get enough great people. But now skills are changing really dramatically. At least I've seen even just with what I'm doing. What are you seeing now that you really need to have as a deal breaker when hiring people that you did not have to ask for, let's say, 2 to 3 years ago?
Yeah, I definitely think anything around data and analytics matters. Like, I need people who want to be curious to learn and understand and problem solve. I think Narissa has brought us a new way of thinking about product management and how do we develop and scope out products to drive the best outcomes. So I think anything on data, because it's changing so fast, is key, right? I want someone to be an expert in a product or an area. The other thing that I've noticed, and we've lost, I think, a little bit post-COVID, is service. We're still a service industry. And we have to not just sit behind computers and technology. We have to be out in front of customers, have the conversations, be curious about the opportunities. So I would say those are really big ones for me as a whole. And when I think about Clarion, I want to find people who are ready to solve, get out there and think about what's next. So I think with those things all together really can change the face of the industry as a whole.
Yep, absolutely. I always say this, it will be impossible to hire your way to a data science, or even data skills. So one is you have to start training and coaching teams inside the organization to not just look at data and interpret it, but how to action it, and also how to measure, did the actions result in value or not, right? And that actually is not just about the understanding of data. It's actually like an entrepreneurial type of vein in your body, that you're taking this and you're saying, I'm going to make a decision because that's what the data says, and I'm going to evaluate and I'm going to take a little risk, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to be able, yeah.
I think the other thing that we talk a lot within Clarion is, challenge the status quo with this. Just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean we're going to continue. So what ideas do you have? What do you want to bring forward? And what do you see? And I've worked really hard with my executive team to make the environment one where people feel confident and comfortable to be able to have those conversations with us. Because I'll tell you, I'm learning more and more from newer people coming in every day. And I recognize the opportunity and appreciate that I can learn from the team as well.
In this role as president, and it sounds like things are going so well, but clearly there may have been some challenges, or not challenges, maybe things you didn't know about what this role entailed, the new skills you had to develop. Did you have any of those enlightening moments?
I had so many of those, and they always talk about like imposter syndrome. I absolutely had it at first. I thought at one day, like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, can I do this? And I thought, you know what? It's not about me anymore. It's about my team. And do they have what they need to be successful? And am I communicating clearly enough where they understand what I'm thinking and how can I get the best out of everybody? And I think when I figured out that mind shift for myself, I felt much more at ease because I was back in a coach mentor role, which I love. But I realized I didn't have to have the answers. I've got amazing people, but I needed to lean in and listen and understand and make sure I could support them and what they needed to. And we've built an amazing product. I mean, I'm following huge footsteps, I will say too. So I got a great foundation I'm stepping into, but now it's about what's next and how do I bring people on a journey with me. And it's different, but I think it's been, really tremendous as in a year into the role. So I'm excited about where we're going and excited about who I have with me.
That's excellent. That's such great advice, by the way, for other leaders, which is my last question. What other advice do you have to give other leaders? But for me, that really resonated. Putting your team first. It's what do they need to be successful? Surround yourself with those smart people that can answer answer the question, solve the problems, and lean in and listen so that, you can not only learn, but continue to support them in their journey.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Revenue Room Connect. You mentioned that part of your partnership strategy is being on, advisory boards, and we are so delighted to have you on the executive advisory board for Revenue Room Connect. And for those of you who are learning about Revenue Connect for the first time, this is a professional network for CEOs and their C-suite revenue critical teams. In fact, RevvedUP is a solution for members of Revenue Connect. But it's a way for us to connect not only cross-functionally across that revenue room construct. So we believe that anyone who's touching the customer influences and impacts revenue. It's not just the sales team. And that there's a cross-industry, cross-sector requirement now. There's a convergence. So it's media, events, data and information, retail advertising. It's all of these different industries that have a common thread of a two-sided marketplace business model, or multi-sided and across different channels. And then the third component is a B2C, B2B convergence. So that's what Revenue Connect is. We'll be serving members with not just events, but research, benchmarking. We have, our events cut across a few different types. One is, a typical summit or a brain trust gathering, like I mentioned, but we also have half-day executive learning sessions called Lunch Lab. We will be launching an event called RevCon, which is for, would say, the next level down from C-suite for the revenue teams that are actually executing. And then we'll also have some digital online programming and content. So what excites you about Revenue Room Connect? It's new. You're taking a leap of faith, but I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love being able to partner with you as we go forward in this. I think there's just so much opportunity, and you've said it really well. It's bringing different stakeholders to the table, because I think once we all understand what's there to be had, I think we operate differently. We can think bigger. I think there's just so much tremendous potential with how do we move forward the conversations. In particular, when I think about what I want to do, I came up in the events business. I want to learn media better. I want to understand more how to unlock those digital components. So for me, the ability to learn from others and hear differences in ideas and approaches, I'm super excited about. But I feel passionate in what you're doing, because I think we always have to think about what's the next step for our industry and how do we continue to raise the bar, which you're doing in this program.
Yeah, and I have a very personal investment in this, in that, I saw and witnessed what, as did you, but my family business was very much affected by it. Thomas Publishing, which is when the web and Google came out. And then I just saw this change from being a leader to being, okay, like, this is what we have to, like, it was constant struggle where, and they survived, people survived, but it was, the fun kind of left the room a little bit. It was so challenging, right? So I personally want to see this next chapter be one of glory and fun and excitement and innovation and leading the conversation versus following it, which is, my motivation for doing this. So,
and I love that, because, when you get in that driver's seat, the ideas just flourish, right? You're not having to chase for something that you're falling behind. And I think this is where we bring innovation forward and change what people are thinking. And I'm so excited at what the opportunities are.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to go move into some fun questions before we wrap up. What is an interesting fact about your career that not many people know about?
So I went to school for travel and tourism, and my goal was to own a bed and breakfast. It's still my goal someday. I will do that at some point. But when I got my entry into the events business, I worked for the Buffalo Sabres hockey team. And I started in the events side of planning, and I was the t-shirt girl. So I was the one who would come on the ice at halftime, roll up the t-shirts, and shoot the t-shirt guns. My boys think that is hysterical now, as I tell them as they're teenagers that mom would shoot the t-shirt gun. But that's how I started in the event space, but learned the importance of planning and how you create some fun and FOMO along the way. But that was my forte into this space.
I'm going to remember this one, by the way. I might have a little surprise for you at RevvedUP. What is one of the craziest things that have ever happened at one of your conferences?
Oh, man. I feel like maybe not crazy, but maybe awe-inspiring for me. I had the ability at one of our last conferences in Florida to sit next to one of the former heads of ChatGPT. And to me, that was not crazy, but it was just awe-inspiring to learn from somebody about what the future of AI might look like and think about the possibilities. So it wasn't crazy, but it was more like, how often are you going to be able to have that conversation with somebody like that and just sit at dinner and just talk shop? And I left that conversation with Zach Cass feeling like, wow, I'm really excited that this isn't scary. This is exciting about where we can head and what's about to approach the industry.
Well, I would say our kids would say that was crazy, awesome experience. No, what a great opportunity. What is the best book you've read?
Okay, so I wanted to give you two, because I have been trying to do that Kindle Goodreads challenge every year. So I want to give you a business book first called Rewired. It's a McKinsey book about digital transformation, and what I like about it is it's a quick read. It's super pragmatic. And it has some good framework you can walk away with and actually understand and develop. So it's not too conceptual where it's too high in the sky. But on a personal note, I just finished reading The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot, and it's this amazing, heartwarming story that just celebrates the good in people and brings different people who may not have crossed paths together. And I loved it. I love something that was soft, warming, and celebrates good humans.
Well, that's terrific. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been such a pleasure. Is there a way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm definitely on LinkedIn. And thank you, first of all. I think this is amazing, and I'm excited to proceed as we go forward. So I'm definitely on LinkedIn, so certainly connect with me there. But my email, if you ever want to reach out, is liz.irving@clarionevents.com. I love a good conversation, to talk shop, to think about what's next. So please reach out, because I always look forward to learning what I can do better and what else is coming.
Perfect. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for joining us today. If you are a CEO or C-suite leader, please visit h2klabs.com/RevvedUP, 2Vs, to learn about how you can join us February 25th through 27th and get your game on with enterprise value using data, digital, and AI.